Welcome to the Mission Driven Leader, presented by TaleoConnects.com, where we explore the new, unknown, and innovative themes for work and give people the ability to show up resilient every day. Here are your hosts, former Chief Knowledge Officer of NASA, Ed Hoffman, and partner and Vice President of Portfolio Management at Taleo, Laurel Sim.
Well, welcome back to the Mission Driven Leader podcast, Ed. We have another great person coming in to inform, educate, and excite all of our audience.
I'm excited. I'm excited also because we're raising the level of kind of how we do this, because we're focusing on someone with expertise in organization development, which I think really is kind of one of the key capabilities for everything. You look confused, Laura.
And I would say most organizations sure could use some development these days. Hike. Things are tricky out there. Very tricky, very yucky. Ugh, yucky.
A lot of things going on.
That's my professional term today. Yucky. So why don't you help introduce your guest today, Ed?
All right. So I'm going to introduce Mia Eng. I mean, this is one of those fun things when you do this, because I was attending a organizational retreat for an organization that I guess I'm a part of supporting, and the facilitation was outstanding. Mia, it was, and I'm one of those people coming from this background. You can't help but watch. You try not to kind of judge, but it was really an organization that really had a day of wonderful conversation, of identifying really important issues, and they were completely engaged. So often you get a group of people together, and do people want to be there? But there was a lot of energy, and there was a central point of a tool that was used that we'll get into a little bit of that. But I really do think, and this really is a introduction to me, that one of the things that is so necessary in organizations is the ability of how do you constantly deal with change. It's not a one-time project. It's an ongoing reinvention. It's an ongoing way of doing things. And so the ability to facilitate, to support, to manage change is so important. And Mia is outstanding at this from my experience. So welcome, Mia.
Thank you, Ed. I honestly, when I first chatted with you at that event that you were talking about, and you shared some of your feedback, it's made me feel that way again, which is just so full of gratitude. Thank you. You've been so generous with your feedback and your support. So thank you. And I'm so happy to be here to get to talk to you about all the things that you've mentioned, conversations. I think that's so critical. And I love Laurel's introduction to, organizations being a bit at the moment. I would echo that sentiment. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of challenges. It's hard. The organizational business, the leadership business is very difficult to do. I want to start with just with a question. What drew you to the work that you do? And you're an executive coach. Mm-hmm. You're a consultant. Mm-hmm. I call you an organization development practitioner. I don't know if you do. Yeah. But what is it that drew you to doing what you do these days?
I think just having worked inside organizations, and I quite enjoyed organizational life, but certainly saw that there were so many things that were there were missed opportunities to get the most out of brilliant, talented, amazing people. And when I say brilliant and talented, I mean, you could see the potential that people had, but either the structure or the process or even just the space wasn't there to necessarily unlock all of that brilliance. And if you can't unlock the brilliance or talent of the individual, you're not going to be able to do that with teams either, or ultimately the organization. And so I just became fascinated with how do people really grow and develop and how do teams grow and develop and achieve their goals, and so took a very zigzaggy path. At one point, I left corporate feeling, because of these constraints that I saw, that corporate life was not for me. And then found my way back to it once I was an executive coach, and I had gone off to actually study leadership. And obviously, through studying leadership, realized all the things that were wrong with leadership development, and thought obnoxiously that I would just come and fix it all. So I'm really happy now that I've come to the awareness I'm not going to fix it all, but I do feel like I can maybe be part of the journey for people and teams and organizations.
I really like your comment around individuals, right? Because it has to start with the individual. And now I'm holding my little, I've got this little piece of Lego that we'll talk about later.
Love it.
It's just holding in my hand because I'm just so excited. So I really love the thought about at the individual level, because then it goes to the team level, then it goes to the department level, and then it goes to the organizational level. And I think we get stuck often in the team one, because it's like, oh, we got to rally the team, or we get stuck in the organizational one because, oh, we got to change the culture, and we forget about the individual, and we forget about the department, and we jump around, and we kind of miss the ladder, if you will, of the steps that you have to take in order to get to the top of the building. And so, do you have any thoughts on that individual perspective that could really help others build stronger teams, stronger organizations? Yeah.
I mean, Laurel, I'm at the risk of just sounding a little bit weird. I've just fallen in love with you because you said all the things that I have tried to say for years to clients. Because often I'm invited in to talk about team building, and the first conversation that I want to have is, how do you support and even nurture the development of the individuals on the team? Because the individual can't even contribute to the success of a team until they've they've made some progress on their own journey. And so I think, immediately getting to what about that individual's leadership development journey? Where are they with self-awareness, or their own adaptability, or their own accountability? These are sort of key topics, because, when you ask the individual to come in and now collaborate and play well with others and help develop others, even their peers, if they actually don't know how to work with themselves and, work with the strengths that they have, I mean, there's no chance they will be able to make use of or leverage the strengths of their peers. And so, how do we build the journey and start it early enough? This is the other thing. We like in organizations, and I offer this without judgment, but we like to start leadership development when someone is in the big L leadership role. So now, well, they're a director, but they don't know how to lead people. You have that awkward conversation where you arrive at, well, they don't even know how to lead themselves. They've sort of, they got to that role, the big L role, but no one's ever worked on their small L leadership, right? So being able to identify their strengths and weaknesses, being able to see the kind of impact that they have on other people and on the work and on the projects and on the team. So, just trying to navigate to that space where, either the team leader or the person who has invited me in can see how important it is to first get that individual or those individuals on their own journeys to, self-mastery is big, but even to be aware that they have to first develop themselves before they can contribute to the development of a unit.
Well, and I have a big L and a little L, so I feel like we're just talking about me today. Maybe this is more like
I'd love to.
a me show.
We're always talking about you.
Are you an Aries, Laurel? Because I'm an Aries, and I like to talk about myself.
I'm an Aquarius. I don't know. No. Are they compatible? Are they friends?
I
this
don't
is
know.
Past your dawning. Way past your dawning.
So Ed, there was a little activity you wanted us to do, and I don't know at what point you want us to
Well,
do it.
yeah,
Do you
no,
want
I
us
was
to
going to say,
continue down this path, or where's your head at?
well, I mean, my head is, so first of all, I think there are a couple of things that it's important that Mia, that we've been discussing,
Yeah.
that I think is, to me, my whole premise is that society has gone through so much change.
Mm.
I see it, going back to when I started in the 80s. It's a long time, but it's not that long. It's a completely different way of working. And I think one of the major things you hit on is that you cannot be successful as an organization if you don't leverage all of your people, because work gets done now by teams, not by that brilliant one person. And the other thing that I really love, that I think is so right, is that in order to be successful and develop and help an organization or a customer, it starts with knowing who we are and having the courage to explore that, and how do we work together. And that's one of the things that Laura and I do frequently. We talk about who we are, and how to improve ourselves. And so I think that's the starting point. But where we started is, as a good facilitator, I think one of the things also is that people get comfortable by playing games.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to go up to a person and says, "Hey, let's let's learn about each other," right? I mean, people don't want to do it, but by having comfortable, by trying things out, by going back to our child, we learn how to do things. That's the beauty of sports, I think, sometimes. And so, you used Lego.
Mm-hmm.
Probably make this wrong, but serious play Lego.
Yep.
You're a facilitator, for that, and it beautifully opens the door in terms of insights, thoughts, smiles, and from that, the ability to have serious conversations. So, I was going to suggest, as well as Laurel and I work together, there's probably always a little bit of room for improvement, and maybe you would take us through. I brought a little bit of,
Mm-hmm.
and just show the audience a little bit of how you kind of think about the notion of facilitation, if that's a fair
Yeah.
positioning of this.
Yes, and just before I lose this thought, because my memory being what it is these days, I just want to connect the dots between something that you've said there, Ed, which is, when I was flipping through your book, you made a point that really jumped out at me, which was that, learning does not equal training, or training does not equal learning. And I think that's one of the other things that we often do in organizations, particularly with either leadership or even team development, is that we try to present it or engage people through a training. We're going to train you how to work well together. And that just doesn't work. And I think it's one of the reasons that teams are left unfulfilled, and even individuals, they go off to this leadership training, and they come out the other side and they actually aren't really any different. I mean, they've probably heard some things that have resonated with them, but they're really only starting the journey, and they can't understand why they've finished this training course and not come out and felt like, I can really get people to follow me into a burning building now. And so that's one of the things that I love about Lego Serious Play. I use it not only to facilitate groups, but also in leadership development, to help people really get at those deeper connections between the concepts that we're introducing and what it means for them, right? So there's this interpretation of the concept using Lego, where it just deepens their understanding and even their commitment to that topic or that idea or that concept. And so we can try a little bit with you now. I know we don't have a
Yeah.
ton of time.
No, I mean, we're
But
putting it to unusual, but I think we'll have fun, and
yeah.
but I think again, we learn from that, from creating a space where we can
Yes.
be human, acknowledge we're not perfect, and as we do things, play, explore together. That's the beauty of projects. When you're working on something, you can learn from that. So with that as a setup,
Yeah. So I know you both have some Lego in front of you. And what I'll just say, sorry, I do have some Lego as well. So I have
Where's your
my
Lego,
Just
Laurel?
trusty.
smush together.
Oh, nice.
That's okay. That's going to work, Laurel.
Okay, good.
So
Now,
normally
show
what
us your
would happen,
smiley face again, Mia. That was
you like this?
that
This
is
is
great.
That is good.
Wow.
this holds all
Oh,
of
wow.
my, yes, I
I
know.
got to get one
I
of
mean,
those.
what kind of practitioner doesn't have a pile of Lego?
I like that. I gotta.
Um,
Can you get that online? Or
you can get, so this, just so that you know, I'm going to do a little bit of free promotion. This is the mini head.
okay.
You can get one that's quite big. It holds a whole bunch of other goodies
Then
that
Ed's
I.
would call the big Ed head. That'd be kind of
The
funny.
big Ed head. Yes, we need to get the big Ed head. That is going to now be
Yeah.
how I
You're
refer
welcome.
to my
You can
There
supplies.
you
keep
go.
that one. You can keep that.
Thank you, Laurel. Yes. Okay, so you both have some Lego in front of you. So let me
Yep.
just give you normally what we would do, which Ed has experienced, is we would do a little bit of a skills build because we want people to feel confident and competent to use the method. So we would go through, how do you connect the bricks? How to use the bricks as metaphors. So I'll just go out on a limb here and I'll say, this brick is an example, this plate. I know I'm going to have some adult fans of Lego emailing me saying that's not what that's called, but that's what I'm going to call it.
Right.
This could represent so many things. It's a blue plate, nice,
Right.
rich blue, but, this could represent the sky. Or maybe this represents, my favorite bike as a child, because it's round. And maybe it also represents an idea, a nice, solid, well thought out idea. The point is, I can use bricks to represent anything.
Yeah.
And I want
It's like
you to
half of an
also.
Oreo cookie in the holiday season.
A little snack. A little snack.
A
That
little snack. Yeah.
you know what? Like, it's a little early because now I need to go get a snack, but maybe I'll do
That's
that at the commercial break.
all
So
right.
here's what I'll invite you to do. If you just have your bricks in front of you, the other thing you'll want to have is something. Do you both have, maybe something long and pointy that you'll be able to use? Yeah, perfect. Yes, Laurel. If you don't have a Lego brick, you can also just use a pen. Perfect. Yes. Nice. And wow, that is a substantial pointer that you're going to use.
Yeah.
So very powerful.
Is very powerful. So here's what I will do in this highly compressed challenge.
Right.
Let's think about how you work together. You, Laurel and Ed,
Laurel
you
and
are
I. Should we include
co-creating this.
Our
You
other
should.
Mia?
Oh, can we? Is
Yeah.
Mia equipped? Does Mia have?
Oh, she's not equipped, but we can include the team, the three of us.
Okay.
We'll include her on the team.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. So let's just think about this amazing podcast, this space that you, the three of you together, create to surface ideas and to have conversations that really matter. I probably won't be the person writing your copy, but let's just frame that as what we're going to focus on. So I'm going to give you, let's say, 2 minutes. I won't run my timer like I normally would, but I would invite you to build a model to show what it is you want to accomplish in this work that you do together. What is the most important thing that you can do or that you can accomplish in the work that you do together? So I'll be quiet for just a couple of minutes.
Well, actually, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the interesting times you've had while we build it and share with our audience some aha moments with different people where you're like, wow, I didn't expect it to go down that path, but we got there and it was like really empowering if you're open to it.
Yes.
Okay.
So I worked with so my partner's an engineer. This is not to disparage engineers. I worked with a group of engineers. It was in the leadership development space, but specifically we were exploring accountability. What are the behaviors of accountability? What are the barriers to accountability? So first, starting at the individual level, what are the things, that each individual must do in order to contribute to an environment or a culture of accountability. And one of the things that they explored was when, let's say, the accountability traps that people fall into. And so they built individual models and they explored, this is the accountability trap I fall into. And they built these very rich models to show the conditions, right? Are there certain topics that sort of lead them into maybe avoiding the kind of accountability that they really aspire to? And it was mind blowing. Certainly, as a facilitator, it was very how shall I put this, rewarding to watch them come to these realizations individually of, what those traps are, and also what they need to do to sort of avoid those traps for themselves. And then we took it up to a shared model and they told these rich stories. And if they weren't confidential, I wish that I could show the world, because even the process itself really gave those individuals on their own and together the opportunity to step up into their accountability. They all spoke from the I, which, I thought was just such a huge step, because they were immediately saying, this is what I do, in the business. This is what it looks like. This is the effect of that, obviously the negative effect of that. And this is what I really need to be doing. And, just to watch them go from, well, I'm not really sure how I need to improve my accountability, to, I know very clearly, I have this level of awareness and I own it. And, that really led them to the commitment to start to change. And of course, when one person commits to change, the next person says, yes, I also need to do that. But on the other side of that, they could articulate, here's the outcome for the business. If I start to own this, and if I now take action to achieve these results, this is how we're going to benefit. And now, if I'm the first one to acknowledge when there is a failure on my part, here's what's on the other side of this, the learning, and maybe even the growth in that area for others, because I've been able to own the mistakes that I've made, and I've created this robust learning for others before they have to make the same mistake. So I think that's one of certainly the recent ones for me.
And so that sounds to me incredibly rewarding. My question back to you is, has it translated into them actually doing it?
So this is a very good question, because this is also the thing, if I'm honest, is the most frustrating thing for me. Now, this particular group, I want to say, I'm not with them every day. I want to say it has translated for some of them, because I still work with that organization and I can hear from some of them. I think that, as you probably both know, working in organizations, it is the follow through that is most difficult.
Yep.
And, being able to hold people to those commitments in a way that they are accountable to themselves, but they don't forget about what that commitment was. And I mean, I could go down the rabbit hole now of reentry after those kinds of experiences, because that is also hard, right? People have these this breakthrough, but unfortunately, they go back into an environment or in a system that hasn't changed, a system that actually was reinforcing or is reinforcing the traps, the old behaviors.
But change is, look, what percent of projects fail? What percent of, multi-million-dollar project? I mean, what's the rate still? 60%, 70%? And so in general, changes no matter how you do these things. And so I think
Yeah.
that's part of the I think that's part of the challenge. But one of the things I'm hearing is you have to have that accountability. But to be
Yes.
accountable, as you know, I think you have to have a mission. You have
Yes.
to have something. We're doing something for this purpose. We're trying to achieve something, and so we're going to deal with the stuff to overcome that. And I'm going to be accountable, and you're going to be accountable, and in terms of trying to make this happen. And if any of those things aren't there, it's not going to lead to the outcome you're looking for.
Yeah. And I think, not that I would pretend to be able to bring in all of the analogies from your NASA days or your NASA world, but I think it is the episodic development and just having the breakthrough, I think, is akin to the launch. But that the mission is so much more than just the launch, right? It's every process, every function, every decision, every experiment, every task after that that contributes really to a successful mission. And too often I will include myself in this, we do allow ourselves to design the development as an event, as a launch. And we want to celebrate because we got it off the launch pad, like a huge breakthrough or, awareness or even a big commitment. And then we forget that the mission is actually, 378 days long. It's not 6 hours. So anyway, sorry, I've probably mixed in.
It's a system. Yeah, it's the content.
It is a
There's
system.
so many factors that can, and how long do you need the change, Les? But yeah, I think it's. I mean, you want to get people engaged, and if you get the engagement, then you can start creating ongoing ways of doing things, I think.
Absolutely.
But I'm excited to see what we've come up with.
So, speaking of engaged,
that's what I'm excited about.
Before we show our beautiful artwork, we're going to take a commercial break.
It's not artwork. This is a vision for the future.
Yes. Yeah, and you're going to be so jazzed by my capabilities here, Ed. But before we head off to commercial break, Mia, when we get back, I want to know who your favorite superhero is. Because Ed's favorite superhero is Ed.
You usually answer these questions for me.
I know I do. So your favorite superhero, I don't actually know his name, but he's green.
That's Wonder Woman.
And he flies around.
Oh my God.
The Green Hornet?
Okay, yeah. So yours is the Green Hornet.
I was going to say Wonder Woman, but okay, I'll go with the Green Hornet.
Well, that would be me then. Okay, so off to commercial, and we'll be right back.
We'll get back to the rest of the episode in just a moment, but first, a word from our presenting sponsor, TaleoConnects.com. As a manager, you know how important it is to solve issues right the first time. If you don't, you risk wasting precious time, money, and resources on things that could make the problem even worse. That is why at Taleo, we start by getting to the root cause of your specific problem, so that together, we can implement the solution that gets you the results you are looking for the first time. Taleo's unique approach to management consulting and resourcing is focused on building a community of experts that work together to help clients solve complex problems and find success in their businesses. We work collaboratively with you to implement the solution that will solve the root cause of your problem, not just the symptoms of that problem. From management consulting and project management to staff augmentation and resource recruitment, Taleo's trusted team can help you take your organization to the next level. If you're interested in learning more about how Taleo can help you overcome your organization's obstacles and take your business to the next level, visit TaleoConnects.com today.
Welcome back to Mission Driven Leader. Mia,
nice.
I cannot wait to hear who your favorite superhero is.
Oh my goodness. I would say Wonder Woman. So maybe that is you, Laurel.
I think it's together. I think we're just powerhouses. It's perfect.
She just does all the things, right? And does not take
I'll switch to Batman. I used to have a big Batman head when I was a kid and a cape. So
Yeah.
that would fit.
But now you're the Green Hornet because that's what was
Okay. Now I'm the Green Hornet.
So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
With Kate.
Okay, so
Okay.
how do we go about this? What's the next steps?
Okay. So, really important part of this interaction is going to be the share. So, let me just quickly demonstrate for you because I want to make sure that we are able to both participate and hear fully the stories that you are telling. So I don't want to put any ideas in your head. So I won't demonstrate using your build question. I'll show you, I've put just a few little bricks here together. And so I'm going to use my pointer. And when I tell you about this model, I'm going to tell you the story of the model by tapping each brick and telling you what each brick means or could mean to me. So in this case, let's say, again, because I'm an Aries and I like to talk all about myself, this might be a model of me on my own journey toward my leadership. Or the leadership that I aspire to. And so you can see here, this is me. And sometimes I find myself standing on the hurdles that I experience. So I try to not just sort of linger in front of them, but when I see them, I jump right on top of them because I really want to get a handle on them. But I also recognize that one of the biggest hurdles that I deal with is my mindset. And you can see that it's a pretty big thing that I have to work on as, one of the hurdles for me to overcome to achieve the kind of leadership that I believe I'm capable of. And here you can see these are just 3 different leadership characteristics that are important to me. So for me, it's transparency and accountability and clarity. And these are just some other goals. I won't talk about those goals in detail because those are still pretty private. But definitely the leadership that I aspire to, transparency, I forget what this middle one was, accountability, and just goals that are important to me. So that's just a little bit of a demo of a demo. We're going meta here. So, Laurel, could I invite you to go first? Would you use your pointer?
Okay.
And tell us about the model that you have built, about what you and Ed and Mia aspire to accomplish in this space that you create.
Okay. So
Wow.
you will see I've got this little sign that says danger ahead. And danger ahead is for all of us leaders out there that are fighting the good fight, but don't always have the support behind us. The accountability somehow sits on our shoulders, even though we're not really responsible for any of it. And it gets very muddy. And the Mission Driven Leader podcast, in my mind, is there to help to create that clarity and remove this guy right here. And that's why my little friend Ed, who is the Green Hornet, has these great tools, and he's like powering it down, going choo 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 doo 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 doo, because he's got those skills, and he's kind with his thoughtfulness of the guests that he brings on, the conversations that we have, and how he really, really hears what you're saying and then turns it into something that is impactful and allows me to go away and be like, hey, I got those. And then this is me.
Ooh, yeah, hold it up just a little so we can see it.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm the little animal, like the raccoon. I'm sure there's a better name for him. I think he's on a movie as well, but I'm not great at movies. And I've got 2 guns to Ed's 1 gun because I'm still like fighting the good fight to build up all of my like crud and credentials and like knock it out of the park. But then together, I'll use.
Oh yeah, hold it up again just so that we can see. Yep.
And then together, I just got to move my little guy.
Yep. Okay.
We've built this tool box so that we too can work together and support everybody around us. And I'm going to turn around my little toolbox because, I worked pretty hard at it.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't. I just put some stuff in there. And just at the very top, there's a green button and a red button. And the green button is when we know we've hit the mark, and the red button is when we know we got to keep working at it. And I think what's really kind about Ed's and my relationship is that we recognize each other's strength, and we allow that red button to almost be non-existent because we just kind of keep growing together.
Oh my goodness.
But what I haven't forgot about is Mia.
Yeah.
Mia is our little ninja, and she drives a motorcycle, right? Like, and she kicks ass on her motorcycle. And she's a little ninja behind the scenes, and she makes us look great. So that's my Lego party.
And does she have a violin in her hand? Is that what that is?
That's a sword. She's going to kick ass.
Keeping people in place. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And Laurel, can you just hold your model up again and maybe just even tilt it toward the camera just so that we can see all the...
That is fantastic.
Oh, fantastic.
That is really good.
And so I'm seeing now you chose the yellow. Can you just turn it around? You chose the little yellow barrier, I think. Have you used that brick as well? No, is that not what I'm seeing?
You did. I don't know that I did that on purpose. I don't know.
Oh, okay. That's okay. I was just going to ask if that had any particular meaning or just...
no, it was just like a good little hold up spot for our toolkit. Yeah. But we have little jets on the side to make us go faster and harder because Ed and I are constantly on the go, kicking butts and taking names. Yeah.
Just moving. Yeah. Just keep moving like a shark. You never stop.
Yeah.
Amazing. And Ed, do you have any questions for Laurel? I mean, that was a very full story, but Ed, anything?
I feel very good about that.
Danger ahead. Yeah.
I was anticipating some zingers or something like that, but as always, Laurel keeps me a little bit off balance. I love the notion of the danger, because one of the things that you've always talked about at the start is it's hard to run an organization. It's hard to lead. There's a lot of problems, a lot of issues out there. So one of the good things that Laurel does, she pulls us back to that reality of what are the issues, because I tend to be, you can do everything, life's good, all that kind of stuff. And Laurel's always focused on how do we help with the dangers. So I really, I like that a lot. And I love the ninja motorcycle, with Mia, because she's always zooming around in the background.
Yeah. And the other Mia, by the way, just to be clear, I don't know if your listeners know. I mean, I would love to claim responsibility, but there is another Mia in the picture.
As we always say, two Mias are better than one.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, come on now. Yeah. Yes.
So. Clearly.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you, Laurel.
And the larger system perspective and that balance between danger. I like the notion of the green button in terms of growing, getting better. Also how we work together, but also the red of how do we improve? I like it. I feel very good here.
Nice. Okay, well, thank you, Laurel. Ed, do you want to show us your model and tell us?
I have really a lousy model. I just basically, I have this right now. All right.
It's okay because you can tell a story with that as well. But tell us about what you see that this merry team of three could accomplish with this space.
So what I did here was, first of all, there's moves.
Oh.
And so what it represents is the fact that we're constantly responding. We're constantly in motion. Part of the notion of the mission-driven leader podcast is that leaders need to adapt. They need to deal with things. And there's wind. You can see the little flag here shows that there's wind taking place and it blows us around. But we're good with that. We adapt. We react. We're on a pivot here that allows us to go in different directions. At the same point, we have the ability to scan, in terms of, how we're looking and listening to things. We're sourcing, data and trends from the outside world. We're pulling in data sources in terms of what's happening that represents, our guests like you, Mia, to get insight, to be aware of what's going around. Another key part of it is that we have a platform. And the platform is meant to be strong so that it provides a framework for people to learn from and to be able to use. And, I think part of what learning is about is effective platforms to incorporate, to reflect, and then to move forward with. Um, we have also kind of alongside with us at the side. This is Mia right here, our
Mhm.
Mia,
Mhm.
who has the ability. She has to sense. She has to be green in terms of growing, developing, responding to any issues that come up. You can see that there's a smile on the face because she's either constantly laughing and who are these fools she's working with, or she just happened to be working with us. And she's on a quick machine here that allows her to zoom through space very quickly to respond to the problems that we're continuously dealing with. And so that's my model.
Nice. And can you just turn it around so we make sure we get to see all of the great? And can you even hold it closer to the camera just a little bit so that we can
Alrighty.
just get a full view? Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
See that?
And
You can
Laurel,
see
do you
the
have any?
happy.
Yeah. Oh, yes. There's lots
You
of
see the
happy.
smiles. A lot of happiness
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Laurel, any questions about what you've heard from Ed or Ed's model there?
No questions, but
Okay.
a keen observation on
Yeah.
the focus of adaptability
Mm,
and the flexibility that we've created, kind of that space where
Yeah.
we're trying to evolve and allow others to evolve and that sort of thing is totally in line with pretty close to every conversation Ed I ever have. So it's
yeah.
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Nice. And so, thank you, Ed. When we hear those two stories, I think, Laurel, you've already sort of jumped right into that reflection of what you've heard. Is there anything else that, that you've heard that you would continue to build on? Because I've heard, a tremendous amount from both of you in terms of all the strengths that you currently have in this space. What would you continue to build
Yeah,
on?
I think one of the key things to observe is that we're both very very aware that organizations are up against a lot, and
Yeah.
that individual leaders are up against a lot, and
Hmm.
and and each day that passes that people choose to ignore or not grow are days that your toolkit just slowly breaks down, right? And I think that there are lots of people out there that want to learn and grow. There's lots of people that say they want to learn and grow, and then they're the ones that actually do, right? And I think that those are three camps, and I believe that Ed and I are here to support camp number three.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're here to support all three camps, but I think we're most connected with camp number three, which is how can I actually change and grow versus saying it versus not caring at all. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to park that. You've made a point that just really resonates with me. But I want to invite Ed. Ed, was there anything that you
Okay.
heard from those stories that you want
Yeah.
to just really hold on to and continue to leverage in this work that you're
One
doing
of the
together?
things that I just really from doing this made me think about is, all of our pieces, they're positive, they're uplifting.
Yeah.
There's an awareness of problems, but there's a fun with it. And I think that's one of the things. I mean, that was the first conversation we had. Why to do that? Let's have fun. Let's
Yeah.
enjoy. And what I see in organizations, and I see it when I teach, I see it, is that there are folks in the workplace and the environment who they see the challenges, they see the problems, they see the
Mm.
issues, but they have fun dealing with it, and they kind of allow it to grow. And they realize things aren't going to go always the way you want, but they come from a spirit of, I guess, well-being
Yeah.
and feeling good and moving forward. And then I see a lot of teams that I work with of good people who they seem to be stressed, they seem to be frustrated, and they seem to be
Yeah.
somewhat unhappy with the notion of the changes. And I think one of the things that I think is part of what we think about in terms of mission driven is how do we keep our engines positive? How do we feel good? We're always going to have, we're in an age of constant, we're not going back to normal. This is as good as it gets, and it's going to be more changes. But if you can enjoy that journey, like an athlete enjoys, the challenges that they have, then it takes a different thing. And that would be my one wish in terms of what we do and how we work, is that people breathe a little bit more, they enjoy a little bit more, they enjoy their families, their lives, and they see work as a fun challenge that we can enjoy and smile about, and take on challenges that way. So got a little bit more philosophical than I wanted, but I think that's why I have fun with what we're doing. That's why I knew I wanted to have you, Mia, here, because I knew we would learn things. There's a lot of capability there, but it's you want to have a smile on your face as much as you can.
Yeah, and it's amazing too, even just the colorful bricks and being able to remove yourself from the sort of grind of we've got to solve problems, we've got to solve problems, just to, well, let's just imagine, right? Or let's just tell a story that we know something about, but we can use something different that is visually stimulating and sort of helps us interact in a very different way. And I think we do often underrate the value of even the positive look. And I think even in the question that I offered to you both, it's it was intentionally, what are the things that you aspire to do here, as opposed to just what's the improvement that you need to make immediately. And not to say that that isn't an important and valuable conversation as well, because we often do need to talk about what needs to be fixed or improved, but also just giving us a chance to think about what is working and how you want to amplify that to continue to get the results that you want. But Laurel, you made such an important point.
I've already forgotten what I said.
The three camps of the people who don't want to, the people who say they want to, and then the people who really not only say they want to, but they're ready to do the work, because it is hard, right? It can be quite a challenge to develop yourself. You're going to have moments where it feels like you're not going to achieve the goal, or that the kind of change that is necessary is scary or uncomfortable. And I love that you said that, because I'm not sure that people always realize that just signing yourself up for a program or to work with a coach. I get this a lot. People hire me, but then when we start the work, it's can you just tell me the three things, like you've been around, what are the three things I need to do? It's like, oh, that's the work you have to do, is to figure out what those three things are for you. So I wanted to call that out, because I just thought that was just a really important point.
Thank you very much. Ed and I live in Camp 3 on a regular basis, and we don't even tent normally, but we live in that camp.
You're just sitting out by the fire. It's like just chopping wood one log after the other. You're ready to do what you have to do to keep it going.
Absolutely.
Love that.
I loved this activity, Mia, and I loved it because it created an environment for people to tell their story without feeling super vulnerable about telling this story, right? So you had to create something, you had to have a little bit of imagination, but you kind of had to dig a little bit as to what is the why to really get to the answer. And I think it kind of creates, because Ed and I are constantly saying, if you're a good storyteller, it can take you so far in conversations and in eliciting connection and support and all of those types of things. And I think by doing this and having workshops like this that you would run, you're creating that space in a really easy fun but effective manner. So bravo. Yeah.
Thank you. I wish I could take credit for even designing it, but I didn't. And
You take credit anyway.
okay, well, thanks. I will.
Yeah.
I try to at least use what was created, and a part of Lego Serious Play etiquette is that we tell the story of the model. And so very early on, as I'm helping people develop the skills to use the method, it's why we focus on having a pointer. And we almost even will say to people, even though it's counterintuitive, we don't need to make eye contact. Let's focus on the model, because I think that vulnerability that you talked about, it helps to alleviate some of that when I don't have to tell you about my personal values and feel like you may judge me because of what you hear or don't hear. But if I talk about a model and I direct your attention to this model, we can almost talk about it a little bit more objectively. And so you can imagine even in team development, teammates giving each other feedback using a model can be a very different conversation, because they can build what they've observed and then talk about that as let's both look at these bricks and talk about what they represent, and we can just sort of interact in a slightly different space. So it's I think that was by design. The brilliant people who created Lego Serious Play decades ago, right?
Fantastic.
Well, I think it goes also to what you do as a consultant, as a coach, which is, I think, ultimately people go in the direction they want with relationships, and in the direction by having conversations. That's one of the advantages. We talk together if we're comfortable doing that. As we have conversations, we have stories, good stories, bad stories, but we have stories that we have to get out there of, this is what we're seeing, this is what we're dealing with, this is what we're learning from. And then I think that third thing is, how do we interpret this, and where do we want to go? Mm-hmm. One of the questions you always use is, okay, what do you want to create? I remember when working with the group is, where do you want the group to be? Because we're not in an environment where you can give an answer. Yeah. It's all different. And so that those things coming together it's a beautiful splash.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. But you know what's bad about a beautiful splash is everything has to come to an end.
Yeah.
You always
Can you believe we're already at the end of our session? It's so upsetting to me. Yeah, I know. It's so upsetting to me. Mia, before we go, though, I'd love to know what, speaking of superpowers and, Wonder Woman and all that fun jazz, what is your superpower and how do you water it?
Oh my goodness, what a good question.
Just to give you an example, Laurel's superpower is provocation. She goes by the nickname Poe, which stands for provocative.
Is that true?
Well, Ed created that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, what is my superpower? I believe, and I have been told, that my superpower is listening and being able to take what I have heard and, feed it back to people in a way that they can continue to interact with their own ideas to get to deeper insights. So I think that listening is my superpower. And how do I water it? Oh my goodness. You've actually stumped me there. That is a great question. Yeah. How do I water it? I think I constantly ask for feedback on how I am listening. Is the other person feeling like they have been heard in a way that matters to them, and could they even give me feedback on what the signals were to them that I was really listening and was hearing them in a way that was meaningful. And so I think that's how I water it. I'm an introvert, so I have to sleep on it for 2 nights. I may have a better answer for you in a couple of days, but
in 3 days.
I'll let you know in 3 days what I think.
If we link you and Laurel together, then we have provocative listening.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something? That would be something. That'd be
That could
something.
be
Well, I
something.
certainly observed your listening skills when we were
Thank
sharing
you.
our stories. So
Yeah.
I can see that being one of your great strengths without question, Mia. So
Thank
thank you
you.
for sharing.
And
Ed, what are you taking away from today?
well, I
What's
was
your
gonna. I
favorite?
really one of the things I wanted to ask. I always ask people where they come from. So, where do you live? What's your home base?
So my home is in Toronto. So
Oh, Canadian.
yeah, I am Canadian,
Yeah,
and
I heard your favorite hockey team is the Rangers.
I heard it was the Oilers, so that's weird. Huh.
I'm not gonna lie, I did watch the podcast and Laurel was wearing an Oilers shirt and I did have a nice chuckle about that. So yes, I know. I'm gonna have tons of Canadians saying, I can't believe you said that. It's like, don't follow hockey. I mean, I know who the Oilers are, obviously. Wayne Gretzky's still playing, right? That was totally a joke. But I am that old that I remember when Wayne Gretzky was
Yeah,
playing.
great New York
Um,
Ranger.
yeah. So, but I mean, yes. Are you an actual hockey fan, Ed?
Oh, yeah, huge. I used to play hockey in the streets of
How did
New
I
York,
not know that?
and
Oh my goodness.
yeah, I was going to the Madison Square Garden when I was like 10 to watch the Rangers play.
Wow.
I have
Okay.
I have the heartbreak of a Rangers fan.
Do you?
Heartbreak.
Okay. That explains all the hockey talk that I have seen
Yeah.
Between you.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of trash talk for sure.
is there? Okay.
So Ed, is there one last moment that you want to share about today that we can leave on, and because we're running out of time because we've had too much fun.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of thing. I would just summarize with I think what we're talking about. Let's have fun at work. Let's take on the challenges. Let's create a space where we can all tell our stories, and let's look to create the kind of future we want. Let's navigate the future of work that we want, as opposed to letting other things happen to us. And that's why you want to work with Mia, and in terms of being able to lay a framework to learn and move forward. About moving forward, constant movement.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Be an individual in Camp 3 to help move yourself, the organization forward. Go Camp 3.
We're starting a new movement, Camp 3.
Go Camp 3.
Camp 3
I will
it is.
echo that. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Mia. We can't thank you enough for how much fun we had today, and how much we got to reflect on each other. We don't usually get to do that,
Yeah.
Ed. That was a blast.
No, we don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
This was fun. A lot of fun.
I
feel like
love
we
that.
had a coaching session, so that was great. Well, until next time, thank you so much for listening to the Mission Driven podcast. And Mia, thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time. Oh, and off with our little Mia behind the scenes,
Yeah.
the ninja.
That's right.
Okay, bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Mission Driven Leader podcast presented by TaleoConnects.com. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review wherever you listen to the show.